Hello and welcome. Tonight, federal government says dialogue with kidnappers of Abuja-Kaduna train passengers continues despite arrest of former negotiator Tukur Mamu. Disbands task force on the prohibition of illegal importation and smuggling of arms. Department of State Services talks tough, vows to deal with perpetrators of insecurity across the country and those who want to undermine the nation's democracy. Choose leaders who are committed to a united Nigeria and no pursuing self-interest. Former President Goodluck Jonathan urges Nigerians, says youths are critical in next year's elections.
On business news tonight, Nigeria's headline inflation rate climbs higher to 20.52% in August on lingering impact of high fuel and transportation costs.
On sports news tonight, President Muhammadu Buhari rewards Team Nigeria Commonwealth Games contingents, presents national honors to world record holders at the State House in Abuja.
And from Abuja, the nation's capital, motorists spend hours in traffic as the National Association of Nigerian Students block Ife-Ibadan Road in protest over the lingering ASU strike. Governor blames lecturers' action on ineffective leadership.
And in international news from London, details of Queen Elizabeth's funeral on Monday have been released by Buckingham Palace.
Hope for the rescue of the remaining kidnapped victims of the Abuja-Kaduna attack by terrorists remains alive. This assurance was given today by the federal government, which said that the arrest of the former negotiator Tukur Mamu will not stop dialogue with the terrorists. Meanwhile, the federal government has disbanded the National Task Force on the prohibition of illegal importation, smuggling of arms, ammunition, light weapons, chemical weapons and pipeline vandalism. This formed part of the outcome of the National Security Council meeting today, presided over by the President. Our correspondent, Kayla Megwa, reports.
At 10 a.m. Thursday, August the 15th, 2022, the National Security Council convenes at the Council Chambers of the State House in Abuja for another Security Council meeting. In attendance are the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, the National Security Advisor, retired Major General Babagana Monguno, and all the security chiefs. The current spate of insecurity across the country has been a cause of concern for all Nigerians. The recent arrest of a publisher and hostage negotiator, Mr. Tukur Mamu, in Cairo, has led to questions on the fate of the kidnapped victims of the Kaduna-Abuja railway attack. Recently, the convoy of a federal lawmaker, Senator Ifeanyi Uba, representing Anambra South Senatorial District, was attacked, leading to the death of at least 5 people. After 2.5 hours of deliberations, the Minister of Interior, Mr. Rauf Aregbesola, and the Minister of Police Affairs, Mr. Mohammed Dingyadi, briefed State House correspondents on resolutions reached at the security meeting, beginning with the disbandment of a private security outfit known as Nat Force.
Equally of concern is the presence of some illegal outfits that impersonate the legitimate security agencies. Of particular concern is a body called National Task Force on illegal importation of goods, small arms and what have you, but the short name for it is NATFORCE. The council declares that body an illegal organization. It should just simply disband itself, because the council has ordered all security agencies to enforce the disbandment of that body and other such bodies that operate illegally.
Journalists are informed that the council has passed a vote of confidence on the nation's security forces. And according to the Minister of Police Affairs, the arrest of Tukur Mamu has not stalled negotiations for the release of the kidnapped victims.
We only came to know Mamu because he made himself known. There are other negotiators who are there negotiating on behalf of these captives. The parents are also there, the security agencies are also there. We are all negotiating. So don't say that because Mabu has been arrested, there is no negotiator. People are there working to ensure that as Nigerians who are committed to maintenance of peace, liberty and security for fellow Nigerians, people go in to assist security agencies in this direction.
The National Security Council is attributing what it's describing as gains made by security forces in recent times to a change in tactic. And they say these changes will culminate in a country safe enough to run the 2023 general elections. From the State House in Abuja, Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the Department of State Services, DSS, is vowing to round up those that are responsible for insecurity in the country. The Director General of the service, Mr. Yusuf Bichi, stated this at an event in Abuja to celebrate his reappointment by President Muhammadu Buhari for a second term. He says the service is gathering data on people who want to undermine democracy in the country.
All the services rely on us, and we are not going to fail them. It's a commitment I once again do now, that definitely in the next couple of days, weeks, or months, all those responsible for all this insecurity will definitely be rounded up and they will never escape. We instead, for this year's compiling, analyzing, building our data on people that definitely wants to undermine the security of this nation, or even the democracy. And this is not, we are not going to leave it to happen. We took that resolve and we are going to do it. Once we want to deal with you, we deal with you, but in a fair manner and just. So justice, fairness is what will guide us.
And ahead of next year's general elections, former President Goodluck Jonathan is asking Nigerians to vote for credible leaders who are committed to one Nigeria. Dr. Jonathan stated this in Minna, the Niger State capital, after his visit to the former head of state, General Abdulsalami Abubakar. The former president applauded the role of the elder statesman in the country's elections, saying Nigeria needs him for peaceful polls in 2023. Dr. Jonathan also paid homage to former military president, General Ibrahim Babangida.
I'm the most junior among the former presidents. So from time to time, I used to go around to greet them. I've not seen Salami for quite some time. And he just came back from treatment abroad. So it's only proper for me to come with some of my friends to pay courtesy call to greet him. Of course, we also stopped over to see IBB. We need him because, especially now that we are talking about elections, each year the National Peace Committee try to meanwhile the peace process during elections. And this is the time that it's needed. I know that there's so much pressure on him now to see what he can do so that the 2020 elections will be conducted freely, fairly, and of course in an environment that there is peace and love. So the burden is on him, being the chairman of the National Peace Committee. We all wish our country well, especially for the young people. The elections are coming. You have to select the person you believe that will lead us well, will serve us well. The leader is also a servant. As the president, he lead, he serve. Somebody that will take the interest of all of us, the interest of the country, and will not compromise our own interests for his own aggrandizing. So somebody that will carry all of us along.
Still ahead of the forthcoming elections, elder statesman and former secretary to the government of the Federation, Chief Olufalaye, is lending his voice to the call for a credible election, urging the electorate not to sell their votes or be induced by politicians. The former national chairman of the Social Democratic Party is also urging Nigerians to vote for the SDP in the election, saying that the party has the capacity and structure to solve the problems facing the country. He was addressing journalists at the commissioning of the National Secretariat of the SDP in Abuja.
Nigeria today is in crisis. You cannot move from one town to another without the fear of being kidnapped. I myself was kidnapped for 4 days 7 years ago on my farm. When I was a child of 14, I traveled from Akure to Lagos to attend secondary school by myself. No kidnapper, no problem. At the age of 14. At 77 years old, I was kidnapped on my own farm. That tells you the dramatic decline in Nigeria. And only a party properly so-called can change it. Not these other so-called big parties. When I say they are not parties, they say, but they control government. They control the federal government, they control state government. And I tell them, when the army was in power, it controlled government, didn't it? But did that turn the army into a party? So controlling government does not define a party. A party is a collection of men and women who share the same ideological and political philosophy as to how to govern society for the benefit of our people. Ask these other parties, what is their philosophy? They don't know it. Where's their manifesto? They have none. And Nigeria vote for them and give them a blank check. And what do? They gather all the money in the treasury and put in their pockets.
Meanwhile, the People's Democratic Party in Lagos State says the party may run into troubled waters over the refusal of its national chairman, Iyorchia Aye, to step down. The leader of the party in Lagos, Chief Bode George, stated this in the state today, reiterating his commitment to the principle of equity, justice and fairness. The elder statesman was emphatic that if nothing is done urgently to resolve the issue, the party's hope of winning the 2023 general election may be dashed.
We are not saying we should remove Ayu. Note that. We are saying Ayu in the interest of this country, in the interest of our party facing this more terrible election. He should just step down. Step down and leave, a taste of honey in the mouths of everybody. They will respect you. But to feel otherwise, the consequences will be too dangerous. The onus is on him. We cannot force him to say, go. Like they requested us to allow Atiku and all those people to contest who are not from the South. The same principle we are asking to say, please do it honorable. Do it with nobility. Do it with candor, so that the future generations will never forget that commitment, that loyalty, that sanity that you brought into the party.
In part two, after the break, the president confers Nigerian citizenship to 286 foreigners from several countries as part of Nigeria's plan to end statelessness by 2024. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Federal government says talks with kidnappers of train passengers continues despite arrest of negotiator Tukur Mamu. Disbands task force on the prohibition of illegal importation and smuggling of arms. Department of State Services talks tough, vows to deal with perpetrators of insecurity across the country and those who want to undermine the nation's democracy. Choose leaders who are committed to a united Nigeria and not pursuing self-interest. Former President Goodluck Jonathan urges Nigerians, says youth are critical in next year's elections. And Buckingham Palace released details of Queen Elizabeth II's funeral on Monday. With politics, more support is coming the way of the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Senator Bola Tinubu, as the national coordinator of the Jagaban Shatima Ambassadors and Media Action, Mohammed Uthman, today inaugurated its national executive, zonal and state coordinators. Speaking in Abuja shortly after the inauguration, the national coordinator of the group says their sole aim is to mobilize 15 million votes for the APC presidential candidate during the 2023 presidential election.
I would like to use this opportunity to tell Nigerians that age is not the matter on the leadership, but capacity, talent and commitment. And I have to believe that Bola Ahmed Tinubu has all qualities to rule the country. The cardinal objective of Jagaba and Kashim ambassadors action and media actions is to mobilize 15 million votes for Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Kashim Shettima during the 2023 general elections. Fellow Nigerians, each and every one of us is aware of the achievement recorded by Bola Ahmed Tinubu during his tenure as the governor of Lagos State. And since from the structure of economic development he has put in place in that Lagos State is the highest in terms of economy in Africa. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, years in Lagos is essentially that of utilization of visionary leadership, the best and brightest talent, as well as creative strategies to turn this situation around and transform the state into a viable entity capable of fulfilling its potentials.
Well, staying with the party, this time in the court, Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court Abuja has ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to accept and publish the name of former Minister of Niger Delta, Godswill Akpabio, as the candidate of the All Progressives Congress for Akwa Ibom Northwest Senatorial District in next year's election. Justice Nwite held that INEC acted illegally for refusing to accept and publish Mr. Akpabio's name, even when it was sent to it by the APC as its candidate. He adds that Mr. Akpabio was validly nominated as the candidate of the APC from the primary conducted by the party's National Working Committee on June the 9th, 2022. He says INEC is bound by the provisions of Section 29, subsection 3 of the Electoral Act to publish only the personal particulars of the candidate of the APC for the Akwa Ibom Northwest Senatorial District elections in the person of Mr. Akpabio as received from the APC. The judge also declared that INEC cannot publish any other name or particulars of any other candidate as candidate of the APC, except as nominated, submitted and received from the APC. Senator Akpabio and the APC had approached the court asking it to determine who the authentic candidate for Akwa Ibom Northwest Senatorial District was. To other stories, a total of 286 foreigners from several countries were today conferred with Nigerian citizenship by the president. 208 of them were granted citizenship approved by naturalization, while the remaining 78 received citizenship by registration. At the ceremony, which was held at the banquet hall of the State House, President Muhammadu Buhari said that the move was part of Nigeria's plan to end statelessness by 2024.
This ceremony, therefore, today is a further demonstration of the federal government's commitment and determination to remove as many people as possible from statelessness. In this regard, I would like to reiterate our commitment to the strategic role Nigeria plays in the Committee of Nations in its unwavering quest for greater human integration towards ensuring peace and prosperity. I urge you to make positive and useful contributions to the advancement, progress, and well-being of the different communities you reside in. I further urge that you be in accord with our national ethics and code of conduct as citizens of Nigeria. You are expected to abide by the ideals and institution of the Nigerian national flag, anthem, pledge, and respect for all constituted authorities. All those concerned with immigration matters are to offer our new citizens quick legal identification. Also, their local governments should assist with their integration in the local community to enable them enjoy all the entitlements of a Nigerian citizen.
Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari. And while millions around the world expressed their condolences over the death of the Queen, here in Lagos, a commendation service has been held at the residence of the British Deputy High Commissioner as per the Queen's wishes for those not able to attend the funeral in London. Our Foreign Affairs correspondent, Amarachi Ubani, has more.
In the calm of the evening, guests begin to arrive at the residence of the British Deputy High Commissioner in Ikoyi, Lagos. Many of them dressed in black in solidarity with the United Kingdom as it mourns the demise of the Queen. Among them, traditional rulers, statesmen, members of the diplomatic corps, members of the Nigerian-Britain Association, and the Governor of Lagos.
God of love, we thank you for the life of the Queen, for her service to our nation, and for our faith in you.
It's a short service, but one that certainly captures the character and personality of the Queen, who always considered the needs of others while performing her royal duties.
Many of you will be aware that she was never intended to be Queen. Her father became king when his brother abdicated. So unlike her son, His Majesty King Charles III, this was not a role that she spent 73 years preparing for. Even so, she showed for that 70 years the professionalism and dedication that she became renowned for. She became to be known as the very model of public service. The United Kingdom was and remains a constitutional monarchy. And as we are British, we even choose to make life just a little more interesting, and so not write that constitution down. What it meant, though, was Her Majesty's role was to stand above politics and to be there to ensure stability of government.
And with the first verse of the new UK national anthem, the service is over. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu reflects on the qualities that made the Queen stand out from other world leaders.
Watching from afar, you could see a woman of grace, a woman who indeed, has transformed life, has built bridges in the entire Commonwealth community. We're told she's been to over 112 countries, right? She's made the Commonwealth and the United Kingdom government stronger and bigger than what it is now. Having hand over government to over 15 prime ministers, well, I think all of our credentials will be difficult. Will be difficult for previous and future kings and queens to be.
While monarchs do not mourn, the Erelu Kuti of Lagos, Abiola Dosunmu, speaks about her admiration for the Queen.
What's much more poignant for me is the ovation, the eulogies, and everything, you have one thing going through everything. Kind. And I'm hoping that this platform by which we are all grieving because of this woman will be a turning point.
The funeral for Queen Elizabeth II takes place on Monday, September 19, 2022. It will be witnessed by many world leaders, but watched by millions of people around the world. Amarachi Ubani, Channels Television News.
And it's over to Abuja, where Makwe Ogun Yusuf is standing by with more. Take it away, Makwe.
Hello, Millicent. Well, welcome to our Abuja studios. It was a harrowing experience for many commuters today who were stranded around the Osun State axis of the Ibadan-Ife Expressway after the National Association of Nigerian Students blocked a bypass on the road. The students were protesting the 7-month-long strike embarked upon by the Academic Staff Union of Universities. NANS spokesperson Giwa Temitokwe said Nigerian students are tired of staying at home and that the federal government has failed young people in the country. The students group on Wednesday also blocked the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway over the same issue, bringing vehicular movement to a halt on the Lagos-bound lane of the expressway.
We are on protest, on a crusade, telling the federal government that enough is enough. We've been at home for like 7 months. Yesterday, clocked 7 months, from February 14th. Yesterday was, today is September 15th. 7 months and still counting. And the ASU leadership with the federal government have met for 15 times, which in the end of the deadlock. No results, no way forward. So we students are tired of all this nonsense. That's why we're here. On Tuesday we are at Lagos Expressway, the state not far from regime camp. Yesterday we are told gate Ibadan. Today Osun here, we're going on that bridge. And tomorrow somewhere else are moving.
In the meantime, River State Governor Nyesom Wike says the ongoing strike by university lecturers is the consequence of electing leaders that are not committed to solving problems. He says while it is acknowledged that the problem leading to the strike is an accumulated one, proper negotiations should have been able to resolve the dispute. Governor Wike, a former Minister of State for Education, urged the academic union to reconsider some of their demands. He was speaking during the signing of 3 bills into law at the Government House in Port Harcourt.
The government is not run by sentiment. Government is run by reality on ground. It's like what ASU is demanded for. For Christ's sake, ASU is right in what they're asking. But however, which government can pull out that kind of money without the government crumbling? Tell me that government. Which government can now pull out trillions of naira to just pay to one? It's not possible. But whether they are right, yes. But what's important that look, you see that on the table. You take this, we take this. No winner, no loser. For the interest of the nation. It is done. After all, the problem did not start today. The problem has been there all along. And again, it is also part of the problem we're having of electing those who are not committed to solving problems. Some people just manage it, at least I'm going anyhow. And I leave. When you leave, it's not ASU, but it's the people that will suffer it. And which are the students, parents.
Still to come on the news at 10, Nigeria's headline inflation rate climbs higher to 20.52% in August on lingering impact of high fuel and transportation costs. Do join us again. Back to the news at 10. The policy of geographical spread in public service and appointments has been identified as a foundation for mediocrity and incompetence in some areas of the nation's public service. At the valedictory session in honor of Justice Abdu Aboki of the Supreme Court, Mr. Okakuro Opoko, who represented the body of benches, says the risk and dangers of mediocrity and incompetence in the Nigerian judiciary are too grave to be allowed to continue. The body of benches is maintaining that the theory of replacement cannot bring about the best in the legal profession.
All available space in the main chamber of the Supreme Court is occupied as Justice Abdu Aboki bows out of the bench.
This is the reason why
his retirement brings the number of justices of the Apex Court to 13 from the constitutionally required 21. And this is what formed the conversation at the opening of the valedictory session.
His Lordship was sworn in as Justice of Supreme Court on the 6th day of November 2020, alongside 7 other eminent judicial personalities, thus spending a real short period of 1 year and 8 months on the Apex Court bench.
Beyond filling the vacant positions, one issue that dominated the conversation is the qualification expected of those that will fill up the seats.
The body of senior advocates take different view that the selection and appointment of justice for appointment to the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal on the basis of replacement is one that cannot result in the appointment of the best lawyers into the appellate courts in the country. The present number of the justices in the Supreme Court bench is 21. Obviously, every state or local government cannot have a justice of the Supreme Court from the state or the local government. So why then can we not walk across state of origin barrier and appoint for the highest court of the land the best material available to the profession and to our country?
For the retiring justice, prosecutors need to step up their game if they must win cases.
My advice to all prosecutors is to desist from rushing to file numerous charges. They should look at the strength of the evidence they have, and it's important for them, before going to court, to have done a thorough investigation of the case and armed with credible and reliable evidence that will assist the court to arrive at a just decision.
Justice Aboki, who hails from Kano State, retired from the Apex Court on August the 5th, 2022, after attaining the mandatory retirement age of 70 years.
In the National Assembly, a Senate ad hoc committee is to investigate the budget of the Nigerian Iron Ore Mining Company from 2008 to date over alleged financial recklessness. This is according to the Senate Committee on Finance, which observed that the company does not generate any revenue for the country, despite receiving billions of naira in recurrent and capital expenditure since 2008. Meanwhile, the committee is maintaining that there will be no capital budget implementation extension beyond December the 31st, 2022 for all MDAs. And that's all from Abuja. It's back now to you, Millicent.
Thanks, Mark. And we continue here where some relief seems to have come for residents of a community in the barracks area of Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, following the long-awaited completion of the road that runs through their area. The 7.25-kilometer road that was an eyesore for commuters, especially during the rainy season, now wears a new look after its reconstruction from 2 to 6 lanes. Ekiti State Governor Kaide Fahimi, who commissioned the project, says Governor Seyi Makinde walks his talk and is passionate about development.
It's dancing time for these residents of Basharun Akobo Odogbo Barracks Junction in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, southwest Nigeria, as they roll out the drum to express their happiness with the new look of the road linking their respective communities. The residents enjoyed the expansion of the 0.25-kilometer road from 2 to now 6 lanes. Their excitement is not just in action, they find words to express it.
It will take me almost 2 hours to get to my office in Lingre, but now it wouldn't take more than 15 minutes.
It's a big relief and an additional beauty. So we thank your government and the cabinet for giving us this heave from what we call go slow.
The state government gives details of this project, re-awarded 2 years ago.
This project emphasizes His Excellency Makinde Cardinal Road Mark for accelerated development of Oyo State and buttresses the commitment to expand the economy of Oyo State.
And the state governor, Seyi Makinde, blames the previous condition of the road on poor handling by the previous contractor, reason he re-awarded it.
The Ministry of Works brought to me a valuation and said we're supposed to pay the contractor, I think about maybe 400 million naira. So I terminated the project and we re-awarded to 2 contractors so that we can finish on time.
His guest, the chairman of the Governors Forum and the outgoing governor of Ekiti State, shares his affection for this project since growing up in the area. He's particularly impressed by his host, who defied political differences to complete the job begun by his predecessor, who's from another party.
I hope we would ultimately get to a point in our country in which those who won 49% would also have a seat at the table in a proportional representation manner to represent that 49% that they have won, whilst the person who won with 50.5% also represent the majority of the people that he has received their votes.
Both state governors display their music skill before going on to officially open the road for use.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
To more education matters, legal icon and founder of Afe Babalola University, Chief Afe Babalola, has vowed to continue investing in medical education as he urges medical practitioners and institutions to partner with the university's multi-system hospital. Chief Babalola, who was represented by the Deputy Vice-Chancellor Administration, Professor Sylvester Oluwadari-Ojo, stated this during the 40th convocation ceremony of the National Postgraduate Medical College of Nigeria in Lagos. The senior advocate of Nigeria was also conferred with the highest recognition a non-medically qualified person can receive, an honorary fellowship award by the college.
You look at the level of medical feats that hospital has achieved so far is something to marvel at. So we are calling on this college and the whole medical body to please partner with that university, with that hospital. This is a hospital that is handling over 400 dialysis in a month. Then the area of kidney transplants, we have successfully done 6 within the last 2 years with 100% success rate. So it may be all these achievements that the National Postgraduate College saw, heard of, and saw that they decided that Baba should be given this award. As a honorary fellow of Nigerian Postgraduate Medical College of Nigeria, Are Afe Babalola promises not to rest on his horse in the area of medical education and healthcare development.
Congratulations are in order. In the meantime, the University of Medical Sciences, Ondo State, has signed a memorandum of understanding to establish and construct a faculty of pharmacy which seeks to enable Nigerian youths and medical professionals further their expertise in the medical sector. Speaking at the event in Lagos, the Vice-Chancellor and other stakeholders said that the establishment of the faculty will help elevate provision of medical services in the country and drastically reduce medical tourism.
A major objective of most medical educational institutions is to ensure the continuous welfare of the teeming population in the nation and advance ample public health.
Government support together.
For that reason, Nigeria's first higher institution for medical sciences is advancing its cause with the launch of the Faculty of Pharmacy, which is the reason for this gathering, to sign an MOU to begin the construction of the Faculty of Pharmacy building in the University of Medical Sciences, Ondo. The project is expected to last 52 weeks, and a total of 595 million naira has been raised thus far for the construction of the project. The University of Medical Sciences has been designed to integrate the training of health professionals and produce graduates that see the health profession as an integral part of building the country.
This is a dream to be able to achieve a Faculty of Pharmacy in a university like the University of Medical Sciences in Ondo, to make the practice of pharmacy different and better than it is before, to set up a faculty that will meet global standards for pharmaceutical practice.
For the institution, this Memorandum of Understanding begins the journey of adding yet another faculty, as the contractor notes that all will be done ethically to ensure that construction projects follow the guidelines and principles of the law and the institution.
Being able to get a pharmacy course, and not just any pharmacy course, a pharmacy course that responds to the 21st century needs of the woman population, a pharmacy course that embeds innovation, and particularly that also connects with the dream of drug discovery.
This is a landmark building, and it's not such a building you can just keep some people there and go and sleep. No, and ensure that every nitty-gritty of it is done according to standard and according to required quality.
With a vision of becoming internationally recognized in health education and research, the institution is optimistic that with this MOU, the health needs of Nigerians will receive a boost, as well as increased medical tours to Nigeria.
Business News is next. Here's Anne Ualdo. Thank you, Millicent. Hello and welcome to Business News. We begin with Nigeria's inflation rate, which has climbed higher to 20.52% in August, and that's the 7th consecutive rise and the highest in 17 years. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, the latest official figure, which is largely driven by high fuel, gas and transportation, is 3.52 percentage points higher than the 17.01% recorded the same period last year, but 0.55% lower than the rate recorded in the month of July. At the same time, the food inflation index, which is a major driver of the headline figure, went up by 2.82% to 23.12% year on year, but it fell by 0.07% to 1.96% last month. The NBS has attributed the drop in the month of August, the food inflation index, to a reduction in the price of commodities like gari, local rice tubers, and vegetables. Meanwhile, economic advisory firm Financial Derivatives Company has reacted to the latest official inflation rate, which you just read now. In an interview with Channels Television, the Chief Executive Officer, Bismarck Rewane, highlighted some of the factors driving the continued inflationary pressure and the impact on the economy.
The question that must be asked is this, that why is it at a time after 7 straight months of a food index decline globally, why is food inflation increasing in Nigeria whilst in other parts of the world it's actually declining? It's simply this, because of the weakness of the naira. What has fed in here is that the naira has weakened during this period, and even though the drop in the global food prices is at a level which is less than the drop in the value of the currency. So net increases, the food prices increased, and it's having an impact on the general food index. Having said that, one other thing that is noticeable is that the price of diesel has come down from the peak of 850 to about 715 naira a liter. That has actually reflected in some of the non-food basket items decelerating. In other words, the prices are increasing but at a slower pace than it was noticed in July.
Well, it's another round of losing streak at the domestic stock market. Investors are still extending sell pressure on 17 equities amid negative close for today. Willie Bong has the details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. It's the September sell-offs as the benchmark index tumbled further in today's session, dropping 0.07%, and an additional 19 billion naira wiped off the market cap. The activity chart was a sea of red, and that further boosted the bears' confidence. But it didn't stop Sovereign Trust Insurance from topping the gainers list today, while UAC Nigeria couldn't avoid the bears' claws. Codville Solutions had a positive price action today with 39 million of its units traded, and it's literally a red week at the NGX. So what should we expect from tomorrow's market? We can only wait and see. And that's the Stock Market Report. And Will Ibang, it's back to you.
That's Business News Tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Mwawadu. It's back to you, Millicent. Thank you, Anne. Russian President Vladimir Putin has praised his Chinese counterpart for what he says is a balanced position on the conflict in Ukraine, as both leaders meet for the first time since the invasion of Ukraine in February this year. Both leaders are attending the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in Uzbekistan, and President Xi assured his Russian counterpart of his willingness to work together to instill stability and positive energy into a world in turmoil. In other news, people are waiting in long queues in London to pay their respects to Queen Elizabeth II. Simon Pusey has more from London.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Details of Queen Elizabeth's funeral on Monday have been announced by Buckingham Palace. At the end of the service in Westminster Abbey, there will be a national 2-minute silence. A procession will then carry the Queen's coffin, which is currently lying in state, through London for a final time before it is taken to Windsor. A smaller service will then take place at St George's Chapel next to Windsor Castle. After that, the Queen's coffin will be laid in the Royal Vault beside her husband, the late Duke of Edinburgh, who died in April last year. Meanwhile, members of Britain's military carried out a rehearsal for Queen Elizabeth's funeral procession in the early hours of Thursday morning. Thousands of personnel marched from Buckingham Palace to Parliament Square in final preparations for the funeral on Monday. The rehearsal, which took place before sunrise, saw pallbearers carry an empty black coffin into Westminster Abbey, and members from the Navy pulling a gun carriage which will carry the Queen's coffin during the real procession. World leaders have already started travelling to the UK in preparation for Queen Elizabeth's funeral. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese here boarding a plane in Sydney. Local media reported government officials from Tuvalu, Samoa, the Solomon Islands and Papua New Guinea accompanied Albanese on the Royal Australian Air Force flight, along with the Governor-General of Australia, Sir David Hurley. The queue to see Queen Elizabeth lying in state has been growing through the day, at one point measuring 4.2 miles long. This is what the long line of people looks like from the air, snaking from the Oxo Tower on the south bank of the Thames to the Palace of Westminster. Thousands of mourners queued for many hours through the night for their chance to file past the coffin, some waiting for up to 30 hours to pay their respects. In other news, officials say Russian missiles have hit a reservoir dam near the southern Ukrainian city of Kryvyi Rih. City head Alexander Vikul said residents in some areas were told to evacuate, but he added the situation was under control. Ukraine said the strike was revenge by Russia for its recent counterattack. President Volodymyr Zelensky, who was born in the city, described Russia as a terrorist state after the attack on the reservoir. President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, arrived in Kiev to show European support for Ukraine in its fight against Russia's invasion. As she got off the train, the bloc's leader was welcomed by Ukrainian Deputy Prime Minister Olga Stefanshyna. Von der Leyen announced she would meet with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and the country's Prime Minister to discuss how to continue getting our economies and people closer while Ukraine progresses towards accession. It is von der Leyen's third visit to Ukraine's capital since Russia's invasion. Sweden's Prime Minister has resigned after her government was defeated in the country's election.
Hej och välkomna till den här...
Magdalena Andersson's centre-left coalition looks set to narrowly lose to a bloc of right-wing parties, 176 seats to 173, with 99% of the votes counted. Moderate party leader Ulf Kristersson is now expected to form a government. The bloc includes the Sweden Democrats, a far-right party that has campaigned against rising gang shootings. It is a huge blow to Andersson's Social Democrats, which gained votes compared to the last election and remain Sweden's largest party. And finally, Dutch students have been showing off their brand new carbon-eating electric car. Resembling a BMW coupe, the ZEM, or zero-emission mobility, captures more carbon than it emits. The two-seater houses a Cliantron lithium-ion battery pack, and most of its parts are 3D printed from recycled plastics. The target is to minimize carbon dioxide emitted during the car's full lifespan. The students are showing their vehicle on a US promotional tour to universities and companies from East Coast to Silicon Valley. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thanks, Simon. Now time for some sports news. Here's Ayotunde Balogun.
Many thanks, Millicent. Welcome to Sports News. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved national honours and cash awards of 200 million naira for Team Nigeria contingents to the 2022 Commonwealth Games and World Athletics Championships. The president, who earlier today received the athletes at the presidential villa in Abuja, says his government is committed to rewarding excellence.
I join Nigerians to stand up for you all, the companions, indeed our dear national heroes and heroines. You have all distinguished yourselves as worthy ambassadors of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We are proud of you. I watched with millions of Nigerians those exciting moments when you all brought smiles to us and our homes by breaking world, national, and games records, as well as achieving personal best in your careers.
In tennis, Swiss tennis legend Roger Federer is to retire after next week's Laver Cup after admitting earlier today his battles with a knee problem had forced him to call time on his historic career. The 41-year-old winner of 20 Grand Slam titles has been out of action since a quarter-final loss at Wimbledon in 2021. Meanwhile, fans at Wimbledon, the last tournament of the Swiss played at before he suffered an injury, have paid tribute to legend Roger Federer after he announced his decision to retire from competitive tennis. The Swiss maestro, who won a total of 20 Grand Slams, the third highest of all time, retires as one of the greatest to ever play the game. And that's sports news. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. Back to you, Millicent.
Thank you, Ayotunde. And the main news again. The federal government today said that dialogue with kidnappers of Abuja-Kaduna train passengers continues despite arrest of former negotiator Tukur Mahmood by the DSS. This came as the government announced the disbandment of the task force on the prohibition of illegal importation and smuggling of arms. Also today, the Department of State Services talked tough, vowed to deal with perpetrators of insecurity across the country and those who want to undermine the nation's democracy. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Melissa Ntworoka. Stay safe. Have a good night.